everyone. I am Jeannie Gomez and today I will be presenting my report about biodiversity and the 2010 International Year of Biodiversity. So let's start sa biodiversity. So what is biodiversity? So the term biodiversity was first coined by Walter G. Rosen in 1986. So he is an American biologist during the National Forum on Biodiversity in 1986. So before this, scientists already studied living organisms and ecosystems but wala sila specific term to describe the variety of life on Earth. So the word biodiversity originates from the Greek word bio, means life, and Latin word diversitas, meaning variety or difference. So biodiversity literally means the variety of life forms found on Earth from the smallest bacteria to the largest animals and plants. Like for example, sa garden baron na atay makita mga different types of plants, insects, birds, and microorganisms. So, all of them show biodiversity. So, the whole word biodiversity generally therefore means variety of life. So biodiversity is all about how many kinds of living things exist in a certain area or on Earth as a whole. Na-include na ang mga different species like cats, dogs, trees, and birds. Different genetic traits like color variations in flowers or breeds of dogs, and the different ecosystems like forests, oceans, and deserts. Biodiversity is the degree of variation of life. It is a measure of variety of organisms present in different ecosystems. So this means nga ang biodiversity ga-measure siya how many different species and how balanced they are in ecosystem. High biodiversity meaning ang atong environment is healthy and stable, while low biodiversity kung ang atong ecosystem is at risk. Biodiversity has three types. First is the species biodiversity, second, genetic biodiversity, and third, the ecosystem biodiversity. So first, species biodiversity, it is the effective number of different species that are represented in a collection of individuals. So it is the many kinds of living things nga makita nato sa usa ka lugar like sa animals, plants, and insects. So the more nga daghan og living things ang naa, the higher the diversity. Like for example sa forest, it has birds, snakes, trees, and flowers. So that shows high species biodiversity. But when a cornfield with only corn plants, has a low biodiversity. So the next is the genetic biodiversity. So the level of biodiversity refers to the total number of genetic characteristics and the genetic makeup of a species. So, maingon kita genetic biodiversity, it means the differences in genes or characteristics of living things nga parehara sila og klase. Like for example, sa dogs, na ay Labrador, na ay Poodle, na ay Chihuahua. So, parehara sila nga dog, but they look different because of the genetic diversity. So, another example ani is kanang sa mangga, na ay siya Indian mango, na ay Carabao mango. So, same ra siya nga prutas, but lahi ang ilahang taste og ang size. Lastly is the ecosystem biodiversity. So, it refers to the diversity of a place at the level of ecosystems. The term differs from biodiversity, which refers to variation in species rather than the ecosystem. So, ecosystem biodiversity, it means the many kinds of environments or places kung asa nagpuyo ang mga living things sama sa lasang, dagat, ug sapa nga lain-lain nga mga hayop ang ug tanom ang mga nagpuyo. Like for example, sa Philippines, we have the forest, mountains, rivers, seas, and coral reef. So that shows high ecosystem biodiversity. And now let's move on to the threats to biodiversity. Number one is the habitat destruction. So important to protect habitat in order to protect biodiversity within it. So huge pressure from the world's rapidly increasing population. So habitat destruction, it happens when the natural homes of animals and plants are destroyed, like when forests are cut down or the land is turned into buildings or farms. So when their homes are gone, many species lose shelter and food, and some may even die. So the next is the global climate change. So change in abiotic elements of ecosystems leading to the biotic change. So mo na siya ang pagbago sa ato ang klima sa kalibutan, sama sa kalit nga kanang init or kusog nga mga bagyo. So because of this, lisod na sa mga ubang animals and plants ang pagpuyo sa ilahang lugar. The next is the pollution. So introduction of pollutants such as nutrient overloading with nitrate fertilizer, as well as more immediately harmful chemicals. So mo ni siya ang pagkahugaw sa ato sa hangin, yuta ug tubig tungod sa mga chemicals, plastics or fertilizers. So this can poison animals, plants and even humans. So like for example sa mga fertilizers and waste nga maadto ra sa mga rivers, so makakill jud siya sa mga fish and other aquatic life. So lastly is the disease. So reduction in habitat causing high population densities, spread of diseases. So ang disease, mahimo ni siyang problema kung magtapok ang mga hayop sa usara ka gamay nga lugar kay tungod sa pagkawala sa ilang mga puy-anan. So dali ra kayo sila matakdan og sakit and also mamatay sila. The benefits of biodiversity. Now, so consumption value, number one is the food and drinks. So biodiversity, it gives us a variety of food and drinks nga gikan sa mga plants and animals, like for example ang rice, fruits, vegetables, fish, meat, and even water nga gikan sa atoang nature. So next is the fuel. So gikan sa biodiversity, makakuha tag mga pangluto or panginit sama sa mga kahoy or uling. So next is the medicine. So many medicines come from the plants and animals that have healing properties, like kanang mga herbal plants, like for example sa mga aloe vera kanang para kuan sa burns, and lagundi para sa ubo. And the next one is the industrial material. So biodiversity provides raw materials for making clothes, furniture, paper, and more. So when it comes to non-consumption value, which is the recreation, education, and research, traditional value. So non-consumption value mo na siya ang mga benefits nga atong makuha gikan sa biodiversity, even nga dili nato siya direct nga gamiton or kanon, like sa kanang recreation, education, research, and the preservation of culture and traditions. Now let's move on to the 2010 International Year of Biodiversity. So here's the saying, biodiversity is life, biodiversity is our life. So they use this saying to emphasize that biodiversity, or the variety of plants, animals, and ecosystems, is essential for all life because we as humans depend on it para sa atong food, water, medicines, and overall survival. Kaya without biodiversity, life as we know it cannot exist. So this campaign raised awareness about the value and importance of diversity in our planet, and it's instilled a sense of wonder, discovery, and ultimately of individual and collective action for a more sustainable relationship between human communities and the ecosystems of the world. So it explains that biodiversity, or the variety of life on Earth, is essential for all living things, including us humans. The campaign aimed to make people appreciate its importance, inspire curiosity about nature, and encourage both individuals and communities to take action to live sustainably with ecosystems. It was a year-long celebration of biodiversity and its importance taking place internationally in 2010. Coinciding with the date of 2010 biodiversity target, the year was declared by the 61st session of the United Nations General Assembly in 2006. So it says that 2010 was officially declared as the International Year of Biodiversity. It was a full-year global celebration to highlight the biodiversity's importance. Ang UN is declared ani pagka 2006, aligning it with the 2010 biodiversity target para ma-reduce ang biodiversity loss. So, why man nga ang 2010 ang gipili nga mahimong International Year of Biodiversity? So, it was chosen because it was the year when the countries promised nga protektahan ang nature and reduce biodiversity loss starting from 2002. But pag abot na sa 2010, the UN saw that daghan gyapong mga animals and plants ang nangamatay or still disappearing. So they made it the International Year of Biodiversity para maghatag og awareness and inspire stronger action. It was meant to help raise awareness of the importance of biodiversity through activities and events to influence decision makers and to elevate biological diversity nearer to the top of the political agenda. So, the campaign is gaim siya para ma-educate ang public, encourage people and communities to take action, and push the governments and leaders to make the biodiversity a top priority in policies and the decisions. Let's proceed. What are the main goals of the 2010 International Year of Biodiversity? So, number one, it enhance public awareness of the importance of conserving biodiversity and of the underlying threats to biodiversity. So, this goal ga-focus siya on teaching people why biodiversity is very important for life on Earth. Biodiversity provides food, clean water, medicine, and helps keep our environment healthy. It also wanted to show that the dangers that biodiversity faces, like deforestation, pollution, climate change, and the overuse of the natural resources. So by knowing this, people can better understand why protecting biodiversity matters. So next, raise awareness of the accomplishments to save biodiversity that had been realized by communities and the governments. So this aimed to show what people, communities, and the governments have already done to protect our plants, animals, and their ecosystems. So by sharing these successes, daghang mga tao and mga organizations ang ma-inspire to do the same. So it helps everyone see that even small actions can make a big difference in saving nature. So promote innovative solutions to reduce the threats to biodiversity. So it encouraged people and the governments to think of new and creative ways para masolve ang problems nga nakaharm sa biodiversity. Like for example, magplants of trees, using clean energy, create protected areas, and practicing sustainable farming and fishing. Innovation helps make conservation efforts stronger and longer lasting. So the next is to encourage individuals, organizations, and governments to act immediately to halt biodiversity loss. So, it wanted to motivate everyone to take action now instead nga maghuwatrata. So, people, organizations, and the governments were encouraged to start projects, follow laws, and make personal choices that help stop the loss of species and destruction of our ecosystems. So, acting immediately is important because delaying could cause some species and habitats to disappear forever. Start dialogue between stakeholders for what to do in the post-2010 period. So, i-focus na siya on starting conversations between the government, scientists, local communities, and organizations kung unsay buhaton after 2010 to keep protecting biodiversity. So, by working together, and sharing ideas, they can make a better long-term plans to ensure nga ang biodiversity is ma-remain as a priority in the future. So, let's go to the 2010 International Year of Biodiversity background. So, the loss of biodiversity threatened food supplies, opportunities for recreation and tourism, and the sources of food, medicines, and energy. It interferes with essential ecological functions, explains why biodiversity is important. Losing biodiversity can affect the things we depend on, like sa food, medicine, wood, energy, and even sa mga places for recreation and tourism. It also disrupts national processes that keep ecosystems healthy. So in December 2006, the United Nations General Assembly declared 2010 as the International Year of Biodiversity. So the UN officially declared 2010 as the International Year of Biodiversity on December 2006. So using Resolution 61-2030. So it shows that the decision came from an important global organization. The 2010 Year of Biodiversity coincided with the 2010 biodiversity targets set as the World Summit on Sustainable Development held in Johannesburg in 2002. So it explains why 2010 was chosen. It matched the 2010 biodiversity target set at the 2002 World Summit on Sustainable Development on Johannesburg. So this target aimed to reduce the loss of biodiversity worldwide. Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity or the CBD, based in Montreal, Canada, was designated to coordinate the International Year of Biodiversity campaign. So the CBD Secretariat in Montreal, Canada was chosen to organize and coordinate the activities of the 2010 International Year of Biodiversity worldwide. So next, established at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. So the Convention of Biological Diversity or CBD, it is an international treaty aimed at the conversation and sustainable use of biodiversity and the equitable sharing of the benefits arising from the use of genetic resources. So the CBD now has near universal participation with almost all countries as parties to the convention. So CBD, it is an international treaty created in 1992 to conserve biodiversity, use it sustainably, and share its benefits fairly. So almost all countries are members, making it a global effort to protect the biodiversity. Meaning of the symbol of the 2010 International Year of Biodiversity. So the logo consists of three core components. So number one, the year 2010 that frames the campaign and the logo elements. Number two, the iconographic elements symbolizing biodiversity. So this includes fish, waves, flamingo, an adult and a child, and a tree. Number three, the title of the campaign, which is the 2010 International Year of Biodiversity. So next, activities for the International Year of Biodiversity include biodiversity-related topics in educational and curriculums in schools. So, schools include lessons about sa biodiversity so that ang students can learn kung saan siya ka-importante, the threats it faces, and how to protect it. So, this helps young people understand and care for nature from an early age. So next, making smart consumption choices to protect biodiversity. So people are encouraged to use the resources wisely, like buying sustainable products, avoid overconsumption, and reducing waste. So these choices help prevent harm to ecosystems and species. Next, taking part in the Aichi Nagoya International E-Conference on the Post 2010 Biodiversity Target, or also known as ANIC 2010. So, This online conference allowed people, governments, and organizations to discuss plans and strategies for biodiversity protection after 2010. It, provide, it provided a platform for sharing knowledge and solutions. So, following CBD news on Twitter, the Convention on Biological Diversity's acronym is CBD. So, people could stay updated within the latest news and information adto sa Convention on Biological Diversity or CBD by following them on social media. So, helping raise awareness and engagement worldwide. So next, participating in the Green Wave, a multi-year global campaign that gives children and young people the chance to raise awareness about biodiversity and the need to reduce its loss. So the Green Wave is a global campaign where ang mga bata or mga young people take action to raise awareness about biodiversity and the need to reduce its loss. Activities may include events, projects, and campaigns in the local communities. Organizations from countries such as Brazil, Colombia, Canada, Germany, Indonesia, Norway, and Japan have organized events to promote the International Year of Biodiversity. These events include conference, multimedia exhibitions, and nature photo shows congress. So, daghang mga organizations nga gikan sa mga different countries like Brazil, Colombia, Canada, Germany, Indonesia, Norway, and Japan nga nag-organize og events to celebrate and promote the International Year of Biodiversity. So, include na ang mga conference, multimedia exhibitions, nature photo shows, and congresses. So, the purpose of these activities was to educate people, raise awareness, and encourage global action to protect biodiversity.